Hi everyone. My name is Zosie, and today I am taking a break from the typical art fight that I've been doing on basically since this channel has existed. And I'm just doing a little personal piece. This is one of my favorite characters that I own. She was originally a Dungeons and Dragons character, and her name is Aofi. She's a little, she's a creature. If I had to categorize her into anything, I'd say she's closer to like a fursona than anything, but you know, I don't know. She's sort of half spider, half fox. She got little horns, she's kind of a fae, and she's just the cutest little thing. Now, I could yap all day about my girl Aofi, but to give y'all a summary, she is just so super chaotic. And not really the smartest either. Sometimes she surprises people, though, with absolutely genius observations, though those moments are few and far between. She would spend her last copper coin in her purse for just a little piece of extra meat, and her party would desperately try to stop her on so many occasions. Once an elf even put a tracking device on her and the party, because Aofi was promised as much meat as she could eat, and she just so happily accepted it. And the party was just like panicking because they were like, dude, you can't take the tracking device from the mysterious elf. And Aofi's just like, but she promised me meat. What else was I supposed to do? But enough of yapping about my girl and her backstory. We're here to draw, am I right? So, like, at this stage, I'm really liking how the sketch is coming along. There's a few small issues in proportions, but honestly, I just don't care enough to fix them right now. It's like early in the morning, I'm tired, and I'm just cleaning up the sketch a bit, and then I remember that, oh yeah, she has a tail, so I throw that in real quick. It covers the foot, which honestly, it fixed a lot of my issues. But then I spent like an hour at least off camera just brainstorming an outfit, and I was gonna give her like this cool new like dress or something, but I was like, that's not gonna work with this pose. So I just gave her her original outfit that she started the campaign with, though I did give it a few extra little details like the shirt ruffles, and I just think it ended up looking really cute. So now I begin to lay down the base colors for her. It's pretty self-explanatory here, just slap in her primary colors that I spent way too long adding gradients to her arms, legs, face, and tail. I accidentally colored the whole page a few times, but that's just a price I'm willing to pay for quicker work. I actually debated for a very long while if I was going to actually shade her or leave her flat colored. But I then decided YOLO, and it was just what needed to happen after I did a small section. And you know what, even if it's a bit of pain in the butt for now, it's July after all, which means I need to improve. You know, if I'm not doing art fight, I gotta be working. I gotta be grinding. But overall, the shading did not take as long as I thought it would, because as I shaded her arms and legs and such, I did it on a separate layer with a very low opacity to preserve the original gradients, which I think gave it a really nice and crisp effect. So here I am, actually starting the shading that I was just talking about, and it absolutely changed my mind that I had to finish shading the whole piece. It started with a dark reddish color, for the reddish parts I guess, and then I realized that the lower parts needed a bit more of a purplish color. For a while, I toyed with the idea of completely lineless work, though I settled for a very faint line to just make it pop just a teensy bit more, but not to make it look unrealistic. So here I am, I'm blending a little bit of the harsher lines of the shading just to make it like all come together a little bit, look more realistic. And then I raise the layer of the eyes to make them look a little cartoony, you know, like she's wearing some makeup. I think that's a nice touch, but that's just my personal opinion. I also really like the way that I did the fur on her tail here. It just really makes it come to life. So I'm just doing a few touch-ups to a few details here. I make a few lines darker, I raise the smile of her face to be still a little bit cartoony, and I add ridges to her horns, which I think was a very nice touch. Obligatory, I need to like stare at it for a few seconds. I realize that I gotta make the most detailed egg of the entire universe, and then finally, it's time for the hair. So you can see here that hair is surprisingly becoming my favorite part of shading work. And I never thought I'd get to this point, yet here I am just like praising hair. I don't really know how to describe how I do hair other than just segment it into little chunks, if that makes any sense. It definitely takes a bit of understanding of lighting and reflections, but beyond that, it's just trial and error, and you just gotta be comfortable with messing up until things finally just one day click in your head, you know? So here we are. I'm finally kinda happy with how the rest of her is looking, so I get to move on to shading the clothes. I struggled a bit with the lighting for the shirt, but I eventually got it in the end. Yellow is one of those notoriously hard colors to shade because you need to use either a brown or an orange to do the shadows, while most people think that you need to use like a black. It doesn't work. But then I finally add a bit of shadows to the leather parts and a little lace for her corset, and then I get to move on to the background finally. Yippee! So I wanted it to be like a tavern originally, but I was like, I don't feel like drawing 10,000 chairs, so I just sort of made it like a tavern-like scene, but just not bustling, you know? The real secret to good stones is just make them as irregular as you can. You're not doing a math equation, you're not doing a spreadsheet. They gotta be like organic shapes that are just kind of blobs, you know? They won't all fit perfectly together, and that's where you add little gaps in the grout of the floor. And then you just take a weird brush and you just slap a bit of color on it, and it ends up looking pretty good. Then you just shadow it and you're happy. So we're getting to the end of rendering. I threw in a little tavern counter, and I decided that it was too empty, so I just threw a random plate of meat sitting on there, and I was just like, I didn't know what to put on there, but she loves meat, so maybe she ordered some meat with her egg that she has in her hand. And that's the final product, guys. I just really wanted to say thank you to everyone that stayed till the end of the video, and I hope that you can drop a like or even maybe subscribe if you want to see more of my content in the future. But my name's Zosie again, this is my character Aofi, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. Thank you.